Good morning. Good morning, all souls. We are all so glad to see you, so to speak, to imagine you, to imagine your beautiful faces, those we know and those who are peeking in for the first time to be part of the communion of souls that gathers each week in New London, Connecticut, and now more broadly, far and wide. My name is Reverend Carolyn Paterno. I am so honored to serve All Souls, and I serve alongside such wonderful colleagues. This Sunday, joining me will be Reverend Caitlin O'Brien, our Associate Minister, our Director of Faith Formation, Perry Montrose. Jesse Edwards, as ever, is working behind the scenes and makes all things possible. And we are ever grateful for Tammy's beautiful images that she contributes to our service. We are so happy to have Tavi with us to be lighting the chalice this morning. And we are, of course, so happy to see and know that all of you are here too. So welcome. We will begin with this beautiful poem from Lynn Unger. Lynn is the Minister of Faith Formation for our Church of the Larger Fellowship. She is also an exquisite poet. And so let us all breathe in as we settle down and in with Lynn's wisdom and poetry. The title of the poem is Essential. How do you know what is essential? Could you have predicted this particular version of paring down? Perhaps your work is essential, but perhaps not. The face you wear to the outside world, the picture in the mirror has probably slipped. Even the fundamentals of human touch might not be required to assure us that we are not alone. Who could have imagined that we could somehow come down to making bread without even yeast? To the fact that with nothing more than food and water and air and time, even the least of us will find a way to rise. And so we gathered this morning finding ways to rise, finding yet another way to rise and reason to rise. So let us rise together. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. You are joyfully called to worship. And wherever you are, I hope you will indeed sing out as we begin with Come, Come, wherever and whoever you are. Caitlin will lead us.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, wherever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Each week, we light a chalice, the symbol of our faith. And each Sunday, since we've been doing our services virtually, we've been asking a coming-of-age youth to join us and pass the flame to light the chalice. And we're glad Tavi is with us this morning. But before Tavi passes us the flame, we say the chalice lighting words together. There is love holding me. There is love holding you. There is love holding all. I rest in this love. Each Sunday, we have also been lighting a candle of gratitude. Teacher Appreciation Week starts tomorrow, and never more than now have people realized how valuable teachers are. These dedicated professionals impart knowledge, inspire growth, and provide a caring presence. During this unprecedented time, they are working twice as hard to create a whole new virtual learning experience, building the plane as they fly it, so to speak. We often take their hard work for granted, but it is time now to show our acknowledgement of their special role in a child's life and how vital they are to everyone's well-being. So be sure to thank a teacher this week. This candle shines with our gratitude.
Amen. Thank you, Perry, and thank you, Tavi. Our story for all ages is Wherever You Are, My Love Will Find You by Nancy Tillman. I wanted you more than you ever will know, so I sent love to follow wherever you go. It's high as you wish it. It's quick as an elf. You'll never outgrow it. It stretches itself. So climb any mountain, climb up to the sky. My love will find you. My love can fly. Make a big splash, go out on a limb. My love will find you. My love can swim. It never gets lost, never fades, never ends. If you're working or playing or sitting with friends. You can dance till you're dizzy, paint till you're blue. There's no place, not one, that my love can't find you. And if someday you're lonely, or someday you're sad, or you strike out at baseball, or you think you've been bad, just lift up your face, feel the wind in your hair. That's me. My love is right there. In the green of the grass, in the smell of the sea, in the clouds floating by at the top of a tree, in the sounds crickets make at the end of the day, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved, they all say.
Thank you, Bill.
Mhm.
This morning's reading is from a book entitled Here If You Need Me by Kate Braestrup. Our reading is adapted from an excerpt from this book. She is a chaplain for search and rescue missions in the woods of Maine. Here, Braestrup describes a photograph that was shared in one of her forensics classes. A woman died alone years before in the Maine woods. Her body lay where it fell, on the bare surface of an exposed bit of granite ledge. Near the body, perhaps 8 inches away, a maple seed had taken root in an unpromising cleft that held a mere handful of soil. The tree extended its root system, reached out, really, and in time, the tree wrapped around the woman's remains and grew. I would love to be buried that way, Braestrup says, surrounded by a womb of roots, my matter broken down and taken up into a living trunk and living trees and living leaves. My grief-stricken relatives invited to hear my voice whisper in the wind through new, young branches. So ends the reading.
Thank you, Carolyn. I read this book years ago, and this image of a woman's remains intertwined with a tree stayed with me as both gruesome and beautiful. Beautiful because it makes it inaccurate to say that the woman in the photo had died alone in the woods. I mean, is there such a thing as alone in our interdependent web of existence? 10 minutes outside, listening and observing will remind you that you're not alone, that you live within a humming ecosystem. You live within what is called by some a great embrace. And if you have children, I recommend remembering that they live within the great embrace too, regardless of how entirely responsible you may feel for them. I've thought of this when so many of you have told me recently, I'm fine, but I'm worried about my son whose job is at risk, or I'm worried about my daughter who works in healthcare. I'm told a parent never stops worrying. And this parent finds some healthy perspective in the poet's words, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. I try to remember my kids belong to a great embrace. When asked to define God, Reverend Braestrup echoes a spirit of universalism, saying that God is love. She sees God as the love of people who are there for one another. Where I go with that in my own meaning making is that love is a pervasive force that may or may not also be divinity. I know so many people who have leaned into this force in a frightening time and have felt to the point of physical sensation, a love that won't let them go. I had a really intense year in 2006, and it put me in a position to lean into that force that I'm referring to. Among other things, it was a year of lots of medical attention. I went through 3 big surgeries in about 3 months. One was a planned jaw surgery to correct my bite, where the recovery involved weeks with my jaw wired closed. I became a very creative smoothie maker, the chocolate peanut butter one being my favorite. In a completely different part of my body. I started to have abdominal pain, and ultrasounds showed a suspicious cyst. I had a surgery to remove the cyst, which was found to be on the cancer spectrum. So I then had to go through a third surgery to remove the ovary that the tumor was attached to. Nobody wants to belong in an oncology waiting room, and at age 31. But I knew I was lucky for the outcome that I had. The surgeries were all that was needed, and annual checks ever since have been fine. Nevertheless, 2006 was a frightening time for me, with lots of tests and procedures. I couldn't count the number of hospital gowns or those blue socks with the sticky bottoms that I had worn in those months. It was overwhelming. I became very devoted to a nightly meditation and journaling ritual by a candle. And I did what I could to listen for meaning and for the great embrace. Just to keep things interesting, Nathan and I were to be married that summer. What a year. We saw it as a party to celebrate a painful season past. But the week or so before the wedding, my father was hospitalized. It turned out 2006 had more to throw at me. I was scared. I was angry. It was a nail biter whether or not he would be able to travel and sing the song he had prepared for the rehearsal dinner and walk his youngest daughter down the aisle with my mother. A deep sorrow that I'll always carry is that my dad's doctors decided his body couldn't do it. He couldn't come. And he insisted that we go on. I tried to arrange for relatives to sit with him on the day of the wedding. Relatives were willing, but he wouldn't have it. I want everyone to be there for you, Kate, he said. At our wedding reception, my Uncle Jay, with his pink Irish face and white hair just like my dad, came and swung me around the dance floor. We laughed and hugged and boogied. And as the song finished, he said in my ear, "That was for your dad." A day or so after the wedding, Nathan and I came to Connecticut to visit my father in the hospital, dressed in our tuxedo and gown. From his bed, he sang to us the song he had planned. And he said to me, "Caitlin, I thought of you at 4:00 at the start of the service, and it was wonderful." My cynical mind thought, yeah, whatever. Don't try to sugarcoat this. There was nothing wonderful about you being stuck here. I didn't say that. But I suppose if we are aware of the great embrace, the love that won't let us go, maybe he sincerely felt it across that distance. And maybe it was, if momentarily, wonderful. For each of my surgeries, I followed advice and asked loved ones to imagine me at the time of the surgery, wrapped in a down comforter and at peace. Friends and family did, and I distinctly remember feeling it on my way into the second abdominal surgery, the one that would tell us if problematic cells were elsewhere. It was like in an overwhelming instant, I viscerally felt the great embrace of those who were with me in spirit. Tears of gratitude just flowed down my face. Come what may, I was at ease. You might say a little radiant. For those who are wondering, the anesthesia cocktail had not yet been administered, but the love force was just as overwhelming. And it was pretty wonderful. My mother believes in the deep power of the phrase, "You're okay." She drove up to Boston with a tiny overnight bag for each of my surgeries that year and stayed by my side. And boy, did she project for me, "You're okay." The morning after my jaw surgery, my face was bloated and stretched to 2 or 3 times its normal size. A loved one who visited burst out into tears at the sight of me. That was not helpful, but I understood where the tears were coming from. My mother, upon first seeing me in the recovery room, stroked my large, gruesome cheek and said, "You remind me of when you were 3. You see, my toddler cheeks were kind of legendary, and that's what she saw or pretended to see. She was projecting, "You're okay," offering me her piece of the great embrace. The encircling of those tree roots in the reading earlier, the web of creation that holds us, the love that travels to a hospital bed and pierces through the dread or the solitude. They all make up what I've been starting to call the sacred okay, one that we might lean into during this COVID-19 crisis. The sacred okay is not the okay you planned on or wanted. It's an okay that holds really hard truths, such as the truth that my father died months after our wedding. The sacred okay presumes a cycle of life and death and blesses both. The sacred okay also presumes the power and reach of love. It brings with it an experience of serenity. To connect with the sacred okay is a psychological and a spiritual exercise. Whichever way you get there, the sacred okay can bring us into a harmony with what is. Not a simple harmony, but a complex and deep one. I feel that my task is to be open to it and to get acquainted with it through my own access points and to rest in it, especially at a time like this, when we hear of so many brokenhearted family members not able to be with their loved ones as they are ill, as they are dying. I hope that you'll consider with me the possibility that we are actually never alone. Not ever. I didn't know that in the Beatles song, "Let It Be," Mother Mary actually refers to Paul McCartney's own mother, named Mary, who had died when he was 14 years old. He once dreamt of her reassuring him, saying, "It's gonna be okay. Let it be." And he woke up and wrote the song that has helped so many of us to feel our way to the sacred okay. Such is the interdependent web we weave, the great embrace that won't let us go. May you find your ways to rest in this, now and always. Let us enter a communion of silence. Let us say amen. Amen. And now to bring us the beauty of the song Let It Be is the Carolyn family, Paul, Kathy, Siobhan, and Liam.
Thank you so, so, so much, Paul, Kathy, Siobhan, and Liam. What a joy, what a joy, what a moving, deeply moving joy. It is and was to hear you and see you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. We are now going to enter into our offering. And this is the time as well to take some time, if you would like for us to share after the offering a joy or sorrow or concern, to type that into the YouTube chat and Perry will share that together. We ask that everyone else not respond to that joy and sorrow concern that is shared, as it makes it harder for Perry to be able to pick out that which we will all hear eventually. So we prepare for our offering, and I want to begin by saying, as we have each week, that we are so grateful, the whole congregation, for all that you have done to support All Souls through this financially vulnerable time for so many. So we thank you. We know that there are many nonprofits and service organizations that are deserving of our support, and we're grateful that All Souls is one of them for so many of you. Thank you so much. We have our online giving platforms to Venmo and PayPal. We heard you. We heard that that those are the platforms more consistently used, and they also have lower fees. So we're grateful to be moving into this new phase. You can also go to our website. All of this will be visible for you. But we will now prepare our hearts and minds for this moment of generosity with the words that we speak together every week. We give to the work of All Souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this, our offering. The offering will be gratefully received. We're actually going to pause for a moment to give you some time to do so, and we will enjoy Bill's gift of music as we pause. Each week we pause to bear witness to the joy or the sorrow that has been experienced within our lives. We do this as a reminder that that is the commitment that we make to witness each other's lives. It is never a thorough investigation of what has transpired in our hearts, but rather, as I said, a reminder that to witness another's life, to be seen by others, is part of what religious and spiritual community is about. And so we will begin with the joy and the sorrow that we have heard via email. And we will begin, of course, with our candles of intention that we will light while envisioning the way that those candles are lit upon the chancel each week. Through the beloved community email address, we heard from Peggy, whose husband Jim is having surgery this week in New York City while she is here at home in New London. And so we are thinking about Jim, Peggy, we're thinking about you, holding you close in prayer and in the wide embrace. We celebrate with Priscilla, who shares that her cousin in Los Angeles had COVID-19, fought it at home, and is now on the mend. We celebrate with you, Priscilla. We are always so grateful to hear these wonderful stories of recovery and healing. So thank you for sharing it with us. And that said, I am deeply sorry to have to share the very sad news that All Souls has experienced our first loss to COVID-19. Some of you may remember Madeline Smith. She lived here in southeastern Connecticut before moving to the Boston area 3 or so years ago to be closer to her children and grandchildren. She was a member of a local congregation in the Boston area, the minister of which contacted me yesterday to let me know that Madeline did die of COVID-19. I was heartbroken to hear that, as I'm sure many of you who remember Madeline are as well. She was an active member of Elder Journey. She had a great personality, very funny, wry sense of humor. And so we will hold her close and her family at this time and be aware, ever aware, of the challenges that this virus has unleashed in our lives, the heartbreak, but also the great embrace that Caitlin so beautifully held up for us. May she rest in peace, and may she rest assured. And now Perry will share with us the joy and the sorrow and the concerns that have been shared on the chat. Perry.
First, there was immense appreciation for Caitlin's words, comforting words and presence in our community at All Souls, as well as the Carolyn family's musical offering that brought a lot of joy. Let's see. Denise would like to share that there's a great joy today as they celebrate Lilith's 18th birthday. And Heidi asks that Jim and she ask prayers for his dad in Ecuador who has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Other family members are also ill, and we all pray for their full recovery. Thoughts are certainly with them. Rob shares yesterday would have been his mother's 81st birthday. And a week from tomorrow will be the second anniversary of her death. He misses her, of course, and loves her so much. Kyle says his heart is full. He had no idea that Kathy Carolyn, when she said sometimes she could sing, it would be today and like this. Maria is pretty sure that her kitty, MX Laszlo, will pack her bags for the Rainbow Bridge this week, maybe tomorrow. Sue says she wants to give thanks for the recovering of her cousin Jenna from COVID-19 and for the wonderful friends that help her keep what little sanity she has left. Sid sends prayers for their granddaughter Allison, who is going through a difficult time. Cheryl says last week she asked for prayers for her friend's father, who actually passed away on Sunday evening from COVID. Please send prayers to her friend Sandy. And Catherine asked for continuing prayers for her mom, Jean, with COVID-19 in a nursing home. And Maddie would like to thank friends that help her through each and every day right now. And Catherine also asks prayers for coworker Stephanie, struggling at work. So we hold in our hearts all of those sorrows and joys.
I invite us all into a communion of prayer and meditation, reflection that will be followed by silence, and then we will sing. O great embrace, O love that will not let us go. In this challenging time during which many are visited by despair, grief, and loneliness, may there also be woven into the fabric of our days a deep gratitude, kindness, patience, and evermore, a voice that we each may hear that says over and over again, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved. By the power of connection and community, may we bring each other through this challenge day by day, week by week, and month by month, knowing that somehow by the good thinking of smart and good people, joined by the grace of God, this too will pass. And until it does, may we have the fortitude to keep on and to reach out to others to ensure that each soul is reminded of the great embrace of which we are all a part. As ever, we give thanks for this day, for all of the beauty and learning it may bring. We give thanks and we say, Amen. I invite all of us into a communion and embrace of silence. Amen. We will close by joining our voices once again to the hymn, Wake Now, My Senses. Reverend Tom Michelson was a mentor to both Caitlin and to David Horst, All Souls affiliated community minister. Tom died last week, but his memory will live on in the lyrics of this most beloved hymn. I invite you to join me in singing, Wake Now, My Senses.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sun. sublime. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
So as we extinguish our chalice, we say together our extinguishing words. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion.
And as we send one another forth into this day, you might wish to place a hand on your heart and reach a hand out toward the community. When we find ourselves in times of trouble, may we lean in to our interconnectedness and into the love that, despite distance, will not let us go. Let us say amen. Thank you so much for being with us in worship today. The chat will remain open until 11 a.m. for continued connections, and I have some brief announcements. Just a reminder to read your weekly e-blast to stay aware of what's going on and ways we're connecting virtually. You also received a letter from your board of trustees via email yesterday or Friday. Be sure to take a look. And starting in a few minutes at 11 a.m., there is a Faith Formation Fun Sunday scavenger hunt and check-in for the pre-K to 8th grade on Zoom. So check your email for that link. And we hope you'll join us next Sunday when Reverend Carolyn will be preaching. We leave you now with a postlude from Bill.